Hi Glow Squad, welcome back to the channel. My name is charity.phoshoko, and if you're not part of the Glow Squad, please be part of the Glow Squad by subscribing and turning on your post notifications. And do follow me on all my social media platforms at charity_phoshoko. So guys, I'm bringing a new series to the channel which is called My Journey with Christ. So what happens in this series is that I'm going to be bringing people to the channel and be allowing them to speak about their encounters and experiences with God. The whole aim of this thing is to bring all the lost souls back to Christ and to make sure that those who have gone tired along the road, they are revived and you are motivated to continue with the journey. So guys, please do enjoy for the next coming weeks, as this will be airing every Monday on the channel 10 o'clock for the next 7 weeks, I think. And I really hope that it is impactful and it's not just a series, but it is a series that helps revive and helps bring you back to God. So guys, for the first episode, we have a lady called Nelly who has been a church girl from a very young age because she grew from a Christian family. So guys, this is her story. I hope that you guys enjoy it and it is motivational to you guys.
Hello guys, my name is Mamukele Nelly Rapotu. I am 24 years old. I love God with all of my heart, my mind, my body, my soul, and I'm here to share with you guys my journey with Christ. First of all, I am born again, and that is the reason why I'm here. I got born again when I was still young. I was still, I think, in primary school, because I was born into church. Like, I just found myself attending church every Sunday and never really got to understand why. Never questioned my parents why I had to go to church, but I just did it anyway. So I don't think at that time it mattered to me what being born again meant or what it entailed. I just had to do what my parents told me what to do. But now I'm gonna share with you guys how I actually got to be like born again now. So when I moved from home, I'm from Limpopo. I moved to go study at the Nelson Mandela University in Port Elizabeth. So I moved to PE in my first year. And when I got there, you know, when we get to varsity, we realize, real life is here. And that is when I think I started realizing that I actually don't know God, because God was given to me when I was young, but I've never had the chance to choose God for myself. And I say this because at that time, like prior to varsity, I didn't have any relationship with God. Yes, I knew there was a God. I prayed to this God. I went to church. I sometimes read the word, but I never really had a personal encounter, like a personal experience with him. So when I got to varsity 2017, that is when I decided, you know what, I need to start this afresh. I need to start this over. So I made a personal decision, personal choice, no one forcing me. I decided to get born again afresh. So I did that born again prayer where you give your life to Christ at churches, when you give your life over to Christ. And then I realized that that is not it. Standing in front and saying that you are born again is not it. That is actually the beginning of a journey, only if you are intentional about it and only if it's something that you want to do. So what I had realized before was that I got tired of just going to church and not knowing what is going on. I got tired of just being a church girl because I grew up in church. And I got tired of not reading the word and not committing myself to God. So I had to make a conscious decision to do something about it. So I remember in the month of June 2017, I decided, because I wanted to get used to reading the word and I wanted to like kind of discover God for myself. You know, there's a difference between when someone tells you about God and when you tell them about God. So I wanted to get to the point where I have my own personal revelation. I wanted to get to a point where I discovered God for myself. So I decided to first commit myself to reading the word, because that is the advice that I got most of the time. For you to get to know God, who he is, start by reading the word. So I committed myself to like a whole month of June. I decided to stay away from social media, deleted WhatsApp, deleted Instagram, deleted Twitter, so that every day, like that time that I would use for social media before I exchanged it, or I switched to using it to spending time with God. So what I would do is I used to like write notes at church. Every Sunday I'd write notes but never go through them. So for that month I decided that I'm gonna go back to my old notes and start reading them like word by word, go to the scriptures that I was given at church, read them and pray. And I'm telling you, it was not easy, because at first I was like, okay, I'm doing this, I don't understand what is going on. But it was due to a longing that I had in my heart. I needed God. Because you try everything, you try being strong on your own because you feel like you're grown up, and you try different things. You are young, you get a lot of things thrown at you. But one thing I realized is that at the end of each day, no matter what I do, I didn't have peace. And I got tired of, like, sometimes you go to church and they preach about Esther, Ezekiel, Isaiah, but you don't know these people. And you're still there every Sunday, and every Sunday you're confused. So I was like, no, man, I need to get to know these things. So I did that, and as you guys know that it takes 21 days to develop a habit. It actually worked. Like after those 30 days, I was starting to actually enjoy finding out, like reading stuff about these characters in the Bible. So that's what I started doing. I did that, started reading up. And one of the things that helped me as well was that now, after that 30 days, when I started going to church, sometimes when they would mention the people or the stories or the scriptures that I went through, I would get super excited. Like I would feel fulfilled. I was like, okay. And then that's when I knew this is something that I want to do. It's so nice to get to church and find the pastor preaching about something that you've been meditating on throughout the week. That's like the best feeling ever. And that is one thing that pushed me. But that was still like the beginning of me actually committing to having a relationship with God. And now the journey continues. So after making that decision to be born again, now it's like your life starts. So for me, I would describe as a journey of unbecoming to become. Because initially you start, okay, after being born again, it's like you're giving yourself over to Christ, right? And you are basically saying that you want to start living your life for God, or you want to start living your life the way God intended it to be. So I wanted to read the word and then get to a point where I become the word, because that is how it's supposed to be. So the journey of unbecoming to become. And now you start realizing, for God to fix you, He first has to highlight the issues or the problems that you've been dealing with, or the things that you've been hoarding your whole life, or the things that you've been hiding your whole life. So that is when it started. Like I started realizing the issues that I was the things that were affecting me, issues that I was facing. Realized I didn't have peace, and for God to work through my peace, like we had to get to the bottom of why I didn't have peace in the first place. I think initially it's difficult because now your whole life is changing, but only if you're intentional. You have to be intentional. It doesn't change automatically. You have to be intentional and committed to it. So now your whole life changes, or like all these issues get highlighted. Okay, Mama Kelly, you've been struggling with this. How did you get to this point? How do we break it off? How do we deal with it? So for the longest time, I think 2017, 2018, 2019, God has just been working through these things in my life. But one thing that is beautiful is that the more you are able to give yourself to God, or the more you are open to God about your truth, the more He's able to transform you. The more you discover God, the more you discover yourself, the more you start to understand yourself better, because now you are becoming that person that God intended you to be. And something that is also important is to have people around that are also on the same journey, people that are also committed to becoming like Christ, people that are committed to know who God is for who He truly is, and not for what He can give. So it's important to surround ourselves with those people. It's also important to go, like, early stages of you developing a relationship with God are dependent on you going to church. Attend church as much as you can, but not to show face. Attend church because you want to know the word. Ask questions. go to Google also has answers. If you want to ask questions about what it means being born again, ask. And for me, I didn't have like a mentor or someone who was there for me every step of the way, but I make sure that I ask questions. And what also helped is my family. I'm from a Christian family, so when you always have people that know the word, people that know God and have experienced Him for themselves, it helps. It helps like highlight or make you understand a lot of things. And like in the beginning, it was not easy, but you adapt. You get used to it. You get used to praying. You get used to reading the word. What also helped me is serving a church. Like I committed myself to serve in the church so that I am consistent in what I do, because I believe that you cannot be a servant at church. Like at church, you are literally forced to pray. Like you have to have your prayer life on flick, because you don't want to be this person who pulls down other people around you, because we have to all be equally yoked spiritually. Like you have to like push yourself to pray, read the word. When they say there's time for prayer and fasting, you do that because you're hungry. As much as you don't know why you're doing it, you do it because you're hungry and you want to know God. So I did that. And then first of all, it's actually a beautiful thing. Fast forward, you just literally find yourself in there. I remember I started knowing God. Like beautiful experience when God started revealing Himself to me, when God started showing Himself, like when I started understanding the word. It's so fulfilling that you can't explain it to people unless you try it out yourself. And getting to know God is like the best thing ever. And people would ask you, but you're so young, why are you so committed to God? I cannot imagine living my life at this age without God, because there is like, after you give your life to Christ and you're committed to it, you realize that before you were not living, you were basically dead, if I can put it that way. Because now you start understanding yourself, you start realizing things that make you happy, you start being more aware of the things that are not good for you, even the people that are around you. It is important. As much as it's difficult, it is also important to now start taking inventory of the people that are around you. Because some people are just there because you guys just find yourselves as friends, but you don't realize how they've been affecting your life, whether in a good or bad way. And I think it was challenging for me to let go of some people, but it was also for my own well-being when I look back right now. So you let go of bad habits, you let go. And this is not something that you force yourself to do. I promise you, it just happens. No one wakes up and decides to cut off people in their lives. There's like a journey that leads up to that. And now I started being more open to God, and I started knowing Him, and I was just so hungry. And I think the Bible says that it is way much better for us to discover God whilst we are still young. It's in Ecclesiastes 12 verse 1. And I really believe it is the way, because you save yourself the regrets in life. You save yourself from the baggage, because now if you like decide that I know I'll take God or pursue this journey with God when I'm older, you realize that, imagine you're 42 years old and you realize that you didn't deal with something when you're still 25 years old, and you have to deal with it at that point. It's like now you have to like go back in time and deal with issues that you have accumulated throughout the years to get to where you are right now. Whereas that is something you could have done whilst you're still here. So now you deal with these things, and you have the rest of your life to live free. You have the rest of your life to live with Christ. You have the rest of your life living your life in purpose. And that is also something that is important. You discover your purpose when you discover God. On your journey to become, and when you are done with dealing all these issues, and then now you get to a point where you start becoming. you start becoming who God has called you to be. You start being more aware of the things that make you who you are, and you start to live your life in purpose. Purpose is something that happens gradually. It's not something that you say, okay, I have discovered this is my purpose and this is it. It is, we have a purpose for every season of our lives. We have a purpose for different people or different areas that we find ourselves in, as much as there's like a basic foundation of what God has called you to be. And the nice part about it, or the nice part about living for Christ at a young age, is that you discover your purpose whilst you're still young. Imagine you are 21 years old and you already know what God has called you to do. You already know the direction that God is leading you. You already know where you are headed in life. I think that is one of the things that a lot of people yearn for. We all want to know ourselves. That is what we do as most young people. We want to know who we are. We want to know what we are called to do. And for me, I believe that the only way to discover who we are is to know God, because He's the one who created us. He's the one who has all the answers to all the questions that we have. All the things that we are looking for in life are found in God. So I believe that I have found my purpose in life. Not that I have fully arrived or that it's a done deal, but one thing that I have discovered at this point of my life is that I have been called, or I've been made to love God. And that is it. And the Bible says that those who love God obey His commands. And you being able to obey His commands, that is you being able to do what God is telling you to do. That is you being able to live a life that is now purposeful, or life that is fulfilling what God has intended for you to do. So all this time, my quest has been on getting to a point where I love God. I love God in a way that I cannot put it in words. And that is enough. That is like, there's nothing else. And that is what also, my favorite scripture is Matthew 6:33. It says that, seek ye first the kingdom of God and its righteousness, and the rest shall follow. That is the only thing that you have to do. That is all. If you see pastors going up and down preaching at church, and you think people have made it in life and that they've had to do some special things, there's nothing special you have to do. You just have to get to a point where you love God and you know that He loves you. And that is it. That is where now everything develops. Your whole life, when you love God, when you have this relationship with Him, you're able now to have conversations with Him, to find out what to do on each. I literally wake up most days and I ask God, what's up? What do we do today? And how can I better serve you? Like, I have this beautiful relationship with God, because I don't want to say I found Him, but I got to a point where I know Him, and I was intentional about it, and it entailed me going through the way. And it takes years. I mean, I've been on this, it's basically my whole life, but it's only now that I can say I have this fulfilling, purposeful, amazing relationship with God. And if for people that want to like live in purpose, for people that want to live for their lives for God, you have to first establish why you want to do it. That is the most important thing, because if you are doing it just because other people are doing it too, what happens when they fall along the way? What happens if they choose to change direction? So you have to know why you want to do it, because it will remind you, even when you feel like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore, you are able to go back and say, okay, I wanted to do this because this is what I'm hoping to achieve. So we must always understand why we are doing it. And for me, finding God, there's no like instructions or guideline, but one thing that has worked for me, that has helped me, is committing to reading the Word. Read it. I always say to people, read it even when you don't understand. Read it even when it doesn't make sense. The point is for it to be in your mind, and the more something is in your mind, the more you're able to meditate on it, and the more you meditate on it, the more you're able to start answering questions. And then the more you do that, you get to a point where one day you hear God actually responding to you. And I'm not going to explain how that happens, because it just happens. You just know when you have found God, or when you have come to a point where you're able to hear God, you will know. And it's a beautiful journey, and people shouldn't be afraid. Don't be afraid. It doesn't matter what people say. That is one thing that is also important about developing a relationship. It doesn't matter what people say. I mean, people will discriminate, people will criticize you, people will think you're not cool, or like, I get it all the time. People will say you're boring, and it's fine. I'm boring, but deep down I am happy, I am joyful, I have peace. And it really, to the world, it looks like you're doing something stupid. To the world, it looks like you're doing something crazy. And that's exactly how Christ was treated back in the days. If you go through the journey of Christ in the Gospels, Jesus was considered he was like a nobody, because people didn't understand why he did what he was doing. And that is mostly important. Know why you're doing what you do, so that now people cannot change your mind. And discovering God God is like the source of life, the source of everything that we want to be. So if people want to be with God, go ahead, ask questions, commit yourself, and you actually realize how much you've been missing out. And for me, there's so much I can share with regards to my relationship with Him and the things that I have learned. But so far, I have realized the most important thing is just having your own relationship with God, having your own personal revelation of who He is, so that nothing will shake you, nothing will change your mind. And with the challenges that come in life, you will always know that God is there. And you will know when you read His word. You will know when you, for an example, let me give an example about a mother. You know that your mother will always be there. You know that whether you're broke, whether you guys have issues, your mother will never turn her back on her child, if I can put it that way. So that is the same with God. With God, you know you have this someone who's always there 24/7, someone who will never judge you. And God, I love God because He accepts us the way we are, no matter how broken you are. People always say that I'm going to fix my life first before I go to God. No, God doesn't want people that are perfect. If you have your life sorted out, then you don't need God. Just go to God the way you are. The broken you feel, even if you feel like you have so many sins, go. You are a perfect candidate for God. Jesus didn't come to the world for people that were perfect. He came to heal the sick and to heal the brokenhearted. And that is why it is important for us to know that we need to go, or we can go to God the way we are, and it's okay. Tell Him if you've sinned yesterday, go to Him. If you did something wrong yesterday, or you feel like you're doing something wrong currently in your life right now, go to Him and I talk to God about literally everything. Talk to Him about it. God is your friend, your most loyal and honest friend that you can ever find in life. Talk to Him. And also, one thing that let me give an example. If you are struggling with, let's say, gossip, and you think that gossiping is something that is affecting your life in a bad way, stay away from people that gossip. If you are trying to stop drinking alcohol, stay away from people that drink alcohol, because you cannot. That is it's actually temptations. If you want to stay away from temptations, stay away from people that tempt you to do those things that you don't want to. Literally just isolate yourself for your own good. And that is how you get to secret space. You need to be able to have a secret place where it is just you and God, outside the world. That is what I did when I decided on that 80 days journey. I wanted to stay away from everything to find God for myself. And at this point, I would describe my relationship with God, or this journey, as fulfilling, purposeful, amazing, life-changing. And I will say what I always say to people: discover God for yourself, because that is the only way for you to discover who you are. And it's just an amazing journey. Thank you.